Ben, it was a mauling in the midfield last weekend. Have you reviewed that, and what did you, what did you see was the breakdown?
Yeah, look, it was a pretty disappointing performance from us, in particular, through that middle part of the ground. As you said, we've certainly reviewed it, individually and as a group. It's not kind of, it was really disappointing because it's not what we've seen from those guys. We know that they're a lot better than that, and they've shown that, a lot of them, over a number of years. So we're looking forward for a response. We've reviewed it, pretty comprehensively, but also understanding that we've put the work in throughout the pre-season and throughout the last 12 months. So looking forward to the guys responding this week.
Did you find anything, deeper, like a complacency or something wrong with the prep, or it must be something you think about at night time? How does this happen, and what was the result of that sort of investigation?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, ultimately, you certainly look at yourself about what role you've played in this, and the responsibility ultimately sits with me. So we're looking at those parts of our program, but we're also really confident in the work we've done as well. So, and training this week's been really good. We've got another session now, which will, is another opportunity to keep fine tuning. But the players, coaches, everyone was really disappointed in the performance. And in a lot of respects, it's this week's game can't come around quick enough.
I guess when that happens, if you're a younger side, as a senior coach, probably have to direct them, but you've got obviously experienced guys in there, so I assume they would have taken ownership themselves. A lot of those guys have pride in their performance.
Yeah, they do. We've got a bit of a balance, don't we? So there are some guys that certainly need guidance, and that'll come from coaches, that'll come from senior players as well. But our senior players have certainly led the way this week as well. With the way they've reflected on their own performance and how we can bounce back, So we don't want to live in the last week. We dealt with it Monday. We were really clear to put a plan in place to make sure that we're less chance of doing that again. And I'm really confident in the guys. We've put the work in throughout the week, and guys will be jumping out of their skin come Saturday afternoon.
So you'll back those guys in to respond rather than obviously bring other guys in who maybe have a different attitude.
Yeah, well, I think, as I said, as I spoke about, I think in the post-game, it was unlike us. It's not what we've been training. It's not what we've seen throughout the course of the summer. So that gives me a lot of confidence in how the guys will shape up Saturday.
Nick Martin, obviously disappointed that he can't be out there. Had a ripping debut. How do you replace him?
Yeah, absolutely. It was an awesome game from him on debut, and he'll be disappointed, obviously, but that's just part of life these days. We understand that's going to happen throughout the season. We're not the only club having to deal with it, but we've got guys that have been in some good form, so we'll be able to replace that one. But certainly disappointing for Nick.
So Stringer definitely back in this week.
I don't know. Yeah, Stringer will play. Yeah, Stringer will come back in this week. So that extra week that he's had for training has set him up really well, so he'll come back in the team.
Do you need to adjust his sort of mid-forward time, given his conditioning probably isn't right at the absolute peak? What is his...
Yeah, it's a good question. It's one of those things. We understand he's kind of want him at both ends of the ground, but that'll come into calculations a little bit about how much time he spends there. But he'll tell us, what he likes. He knows the game, he knows his body, so he'll be able to work that. We've got guys who can work with Jake on that one as well. So part of it will be us prescribing it, part of it will be up to Jake to. He knows, and he's got a great feel for the game.
So does the forward structure stay the same or different?
Yeah, we need to have a bit of a look at that. I mean, Nick obviously played a little bit through the forwards as well, so there's going to be a change there. And Stringer coming in for Langford, so there is going to be some changes there. So it's a difficult game last week to assess our forwards for obvious reasons. So we've got to have a look at the balance of our team and how we shape that up.
Do you speak to Sam about the gut punch?
Yeah, I spoke to Samuel in the week. He's disappointed, but it's just one of those things. We want to make sure we're channeling all our aggression at the ball and playing the ball as hard as we can.
So you don't want to see those sort of actions from your players?
Well, no, he's putting himself at risk of of being unavailable this week. So we're not encouraging that.
Obviously, I mean, the footy world works is the overreaction and, round one disaster and people looking ahead of the fixture and go, it's very easy to say, geez, they've got it is a busy bit three. But how do you guys narrow the focus and turn that into, a silver lining of you guys can, it's almost make or break really in the first month?
Oh, look, I think it's been pretty clear for us. In a lot of respects, it's kind of sharpened our focus. There's no point us or any club looking too far ahead. We've got a good opportunity this week to front up against we were disappointed in some of our contest work last week, and we've got a really good contest team in front of us on Saturday. So really it's been an opportunity for us to really sharpen our focus in that space, and looking forward to seeing how we show up on Saturday.
Anthony McDonald, sort of in training, I saw him do some extra work on the back end of training last week. Does he get a VFL game or any updates along?
Yeah, not this week, but he's working towards it. I mean, we're really pleased with how he's tracking along. We're loving seeing him out there training, so we've just got to juggle his program. Part of it will be topping him up from time to time at the end of training, but trying to integrate him as much as we can in the training.
I know you don't want to put a timeline on it, but just for the Bombers fans out there, I mean, what's a realistic sort of, is the first month of the season probably too close, or
at what level?
Just return to some sort of...
Don't know. Where you're right, we don't want to put a timeline on it. We want to give him the best opportunity as we can, so we get him back fit, healthy, and at his best. So that's the main priority for Anthony.
Come up against Lachie Neale, do you put any defensive attention to him, Ben? Are you back in his system, as they say?
Yeah, a little bit. We understand what he can do, so there'll be certainly aware of him. Jared Lyons, Bailey's playing a bit more, and McCluggage through the midfield as well. Which we've noticed is giving him a bit more run and a bit more dash out of there as well. So we understand Lachie's a really important, player and one of the top players in the competition. But it's not a one-man show in there for them as well. So there'll be a bit of balance there between making sure we're understanding what they can do, but also our guys will be keyed into their own game.
And just on Nick Martin, is he living in Benningham, or is anyone in close contact with his housemate?
Not at AFL level. No.
Okay, right.
Has it become challenging, that perspective, Ben? Like in terms of you've been through 2 years of this sort of stuff. We're in our third season now of these sort of COVID protocols, etc., and players are going down. How challenging is it for you guys who are in the bubble all the time, testing day in, day out? And how are you finding, is that wearing you guys down in any sense?
Certainly never a dull moment. Just keeping everyone on their toes, but yeah, look, it's just part and parcel of what we're dealing with. We've got some really strong protocols in place to limit the amount of risk to our program. Guys are really disciplined and diligent around that. We're going to continue to do that because, I think that's the best way we can protect our program. There'll be instances, we just want to make sure we're limiting them to individual cases if we can, best we can, but we're saying we're not the only club that's having to deal with it, and we're kind of expecting it to happen again throughout the season at some stage.
Can you still encourage them to have social lives, etc.?
Well, we've got to find that. Yeah, it is. Of course it is. I mean, they've been living like this for a couple of years, and they're grown young men that, but we're encouraging them to make sensible decisions. They understand their role within the club and how their roles to protect the program as well. It's not all about testing. Testing's part of it, but their understanding about how they can limit the risk whilst still having a life.